Hello world, Cossy here with what is part one of this week's Geek movie news. It's been another week with a lot of news coming out of Hollywood, so let's start off part one with the new Judge Dredd film, which is simply going to be called Dredd. Now, the star, the guy who's going to be playing Judge Dredd in this new movie, Carl Urban, has come out this week and stated that at no point during this movie are we going to see Dredd full face. Now, he went as far as saying that if he went as someone just going to a cinema to see a movie about Judge Dredd, and someone else was playing the character, and he saw Judge Dredd full face, he would puke in his popcorn. And to me, this sounds fantastic. I mean, this one fact alone makes it more a faithful adaptation of the comic book than that terrible Stallone Judge Dredd movie that I don't even want to talk about. It's awful. If you've not seen it, don't even waste your time. You'd be better watching a toilet flush or paint dry. It's absolutely terrible. Hopefully this one is going to be better. Fingers crossed. Next up this week we've got The Dark Knight Rises, the third in Christopher Nolan's Batman series, and some news about who actresses are going to be playing in the film. First of all, Marion Cotillard has come out and said that she will not be playing a character that is familiar from the comic books. It was suggested she will be playing Talia al Ghul, the daughter of Ra's al Ghul, who Liam Neeson played in the first of Nolan's Batman movies. She's come out and said no, it's not going to be a familiar character from the comic books, it's going to be someone completely new. I, for one, think this is a bit of a smokescreen. I believe she will play Talia. I think this is very similar to what Liam Neeson did when he came out and said no, he wouldn't be involved in the movie. You know, obviously the character was dead, yet he has been on set filming scenes for this new Batman movie. So I might be wrong, but I still believe that Talia al Ghul will be in this movie. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. Second actress to come out and talk about her character, or be mentioned as playing a specific character from the comic books this time, is Juno Temple, who is apparently going to be playing Holly Robinson. Now, if you don't know the character herself, Holly is a frequent ally of Catwoman. She was introduced by Frank Miller in Batman Year One, a graphic novel that is being made into an animated movie by DC in the near future. So this has been the link that's been made online, and you know, it doesn't surprise me. I would expect the character to pop up there, as this is sort of early Catwoman in this new film universe that Nolan is crafting for Warner Brothers and DC. Next up, some good news, possibly, for Locke Key fans. Now, many of us thought that Locke Key was just going to be one of those things that got a pilot and never quite made it to a full series. But there is hope in the form of MTV, who apparently are interested in picking up Locke Key and making a full series of this this supernatural, horror-esque, quite Lovecraftian comic. If you haven't read any of Locke Key, go and grab the first volume. It's the only thing that I've read is the first volume, but I'm interested in reading more. It's very, very good, especially if you do like sort of suspense, Lovecraft, horror. This is going to be right up your street. Now, the news coming out about MTV. Apparently, a DVD of the pilot got to the head of programming at MTV. His name is David Janalari, and he loved it. He was very, very interested in it. He apparently not spoken to the producers or the actors involved in the pilot episode, which was made for Fox, but this could be going ahead with MTV. I know it's a little bit different than the usual stuff MTV does, a lot of which is reality shows like, you know, terrible things like Jersey Shore, but I think this would be brilliant. It's a perfect fit for that kind of network. I think it will pull in strong ratings if the viewer polls are anything to go by off the pilot. So let's hope that MTV come through and they snap up Locke and Key for a full series. Next up is possibly a franchise you've not heard of before. It's called Robopocalypse. Now, both Fox and DreamWorks are trying to come to an arrangement to co-finance a movie of this novel, which will be directed by none other than Steven Spielberg. Now, Spielberg himself he acquired the film rights to this in 2009, and he confirmed that if it was ever going to be made, he would direct it last October. And it looks like now we're finally going to get a film of this novel, Robopocalypse, which was written by Daniel H. Wilson. It's a sci-fi thriller. It's about humans surviving a robot uprising. The storyline sounds very similar to, if you replaced robots with zombies, to World War Z, especially how the book is portrayed as well. So having two very similar but slightly different movies out within the next 2 years, possibly. But it still sounds like an interesting idea, and well, Spielberg's involved, and I cannot think of one bad Spielberg movie. So yeah, the man's got a golden touch when it comes to these kind of things. Scheduled release date is the 3rd of July 2013 in the US, and we're just going to have to wait and see. Production obviously hasn't started yet because both Fox and DreamWorks are in negotiations. So once they get themselves sorted, Spielberg is apparently ready to go, and the script, written by the screenwriter of Cloverfield, Drew Goddard, is also ready and waiting to be made. So this could be going ahead in the very near future. Next up, another adaptation of a novel, one that maybe some of you haven't heard of before, a novel called Warm Bodies. Now, John Malkovich has been confirmed as being offered a role in this movie. He has joined the cast. Summit Entertainment are making this, which is a zombie love story, for those who haven't heard about Warm Bodies before. The film is going to star Nicholas Hoult as a zombie called R. R falls in love with the girlfriend of one of his victims, who's going to be played by Teresa Palmer. Malkovich has been offered the role of Palmer's father and apparently has signed on. So yeah, Malkovich, I'm a big fan of John Malkovich, so I think this would be great. I think he stole the show in both Transformers, the last Transformers movie. Those of you who haven't seen my review of it, click out there, go and watch it, see what I thought about the movie itself. And also in a movie I talk about quite a lot, which is Dredd. He was great in that too. So he's also going to be involved in this, which sounds good. I think it's a really interesting concept, a zombie love story, and they've got some really good actors involved. So yeah, I'm interested, guys, and look forward to seeing this adaptation once it's out in the cinema. Sticking with Malkovich and going back to something I've just mentioned and mentioned quite a lot, Dredd 2. Now Malkovich he's signed on for the sequel to Dredd. He will once again be playing the eccentric assassin Marvin Boggs. Great news as far as I'm concerned. He was a brilliant character in the original movie, and I couldn't really see them going forward with a sequel without him. For me, he was the most interesting character. He's even more interesting than Bruce Willis's sort of main character. So yeah, Malkovich is locked in and confirmed for a part in Dredd 2. Finally, for part 1 of this week's Geek Movie News, we're going to finish off with some news about something that I'm a big fan of, and that is Golgo 13, The Professional. Now, for those of you who don't know, Golgo 13 is the longest running action manga. I think it's actually the longest running manga still in publication. It started publication in 1968. It's one of those mangas that sold over 200 million copies worldwide. It's had 2 movies in the 1970s that were produced in Japan about it. It's had 2 anime movies, the first of which, Golgo 13 The Professional, was probably the second ever anime movie I ever saw, which really got me interested in watching anime movies. And yeah, I'm really excited. This has been picked up by Davis Films to be made into a big budget live action Hollywood movie. Davis Films, maybe you're not familiar with them, they were involved with the film adaptations of Silent Hill and obviously the Resident Evil movies, and they have picked up the rights to Golgo 13. Now, Golgo 13, for those who don't know much about the actual franchise itself, is about a assassin. His name is, well, code name is Golgo 13. His real name is Duke Togo. He's a professional killer. He has a very mysterious past, and he runs by a very strict sort of ethical code, which sounds strange because he's a professional killer, he's an assassin, but it's very, very interesting. I know there has recently been an anime series of it in the last couple of years, which I haven't seen, but I'm sure if it's anything to go by from the original manga and the original anime movies, will be fantastic. I'm really interested to see, the 11-year-old me is interested as well as the me now, because Golgo 13 was such a big part of me getting into anime. The only thing that I'm worried about is the fact that Davis Films is involved. Now, I mentioned 2 franchises there, Silent Hill and Resident Evil. The Silent Hill movie wasn't great. Wasn't bad, and wasn't great. It was a kind of indifferent movie, like a 3-star. Wouldn't say run out and watch it, but if there's nothing on and it's on Sci-Fi Channel, which it seems to be on quite a lot, then yeah, especially if you're a fan of Silent Hill, watch it. Resident Evil movies, as I've said in the past, I despise as a fan of Resident Evil. So yeah, hopefully they don't ruin this, because this could be not just a big budget one-off. There is enough material there for this to be a massive franchise, spinning off into the realms of 4, 5, 6 movies. We've got a whole backstory going back to 1968 in the comics, so why not? Okay guys, that's the end of part 1 of this week's Geek Movie News. If you haven't seen last week's Geek Movie News, then you just need to click on that link there, that'll pop out back to last week. Let's see what you missed, because you never know what you've missed unless you watch it. And obviously, once part 2 is ready, you'll be able to just click right there and go straight to part 2. As always, the like button's down there. Click on that like button because you obviously like this. Comment, favourite, subscribe, post to all of your friends, post on your social media sites. If you're not a fan of me on Facebook, then link in the drop down box below for my Facebook fan page, so you can go and become a fan of me, find out when my latest videos are coming, find out the latest news before everyone else. And until part 2, au revoir.